Hello, Red Wizrrd here again. Today we're talking about Flak. So this guide is intended for someone who either hasn't played Borderlands 3 before, or it's been a long time since you played, you kind of need a refresher. I'm going to look over the skills that really change the way you play. You might notice, if you've watched the other guides, they'll be linked below by the way, you may notice there's a lot less for Flak than there are for the others. Flak's got plenty of good skills. There's a lot of good buffs, but many of them are very straightforward. They aren't going to change your playstyle per se. So that's the angle that we're coming at this from. And of course, I've got a couple builds at the end that I think work pretty well. It's the more fun ways to play Flak in my mind. Also, Flak is probably the most new player friendly. And I hadn't really thought about that before getting this build guide together. Partly because you've got the pet, and the pet's going to be fighting with you, but also because the skill trees are a little bit more straightforward in many ways. The first thing I'm going to talk about is my personal favorite skill of Flak's. Lick the Wounds. It reads, your pet gets the ability to revive you. If it does, your pet gains increased damage for a long time. Anytime a skill says a long time, it means a minute or longer. In this case, it is a minute. But that's not what makes it great. The good thing about this skill is that your pet can now revive you. That's huge, especially if you're playing solo. In that vein, we're going to talk about some other skills that have to do with taking care of your pet, having them take care of you. Here in the green tree also, you have All My BFFs. You share a health regeneration portion with your team. Now, this includes your pet, but it goes on to say your pet shares double the health regen. We'll talk about this later in the video. I honestly feel like it's slept on a little bit. Then we have here, Who Rescued Who. Dealing damage heals your pet for a portion of the damage. It's not the end of the world if your pet goes down or dies, but it is part of your damage. Your pet is a part of you, part of your DPS is the way to think about it when you're playing Flak. It's also your source of revival, potentially. Being able to relatively ignore your pet, but also know that you are taking care of it, you're healing it, you don't have to worry about it going down so much as long as you're fighting something, that's very helpful. But that's not all the skill does. It also goes on to say, when your pet deals damage, you gain health regeneration for a short time. So as long as the pet is hitting something, as long as it's actively fighting, then you are going to be getting a little bit more health regen. Then we're jumping over to Combat Veterinarian. Shooting your pet's attack target heals your pet for 30% of your damage dealt. So with 5 points in this, 5% of the damage that you are dealing is healing your pet. But when combo with this skill here, that means if you are attacking the same target as your pet, then you are healing them for 35% of that damage. Let's go back over and look at the couple of skills that I've left in the green and blue tree that we haven't talked about. Eager to Impress is a kill skill. Killing an enemy reduces your skill cooldown. Very basic, simple, good skill. It's not game changing, but it's solid. And that's the way many of these skills are, the others, the ones that I don't have highlighted here. But the reason I'm highlighting Eager to Impress is because it goes on to say, when your pet gets a kill, your attack command cooldown is reset and your skill cooldown is reduced even more. If you're new, you may not know that your pet is just always active. You have the pet with you. It will just be running around with you. It's not a skill that you activate. You also have an action skill. You can hold down the action skill button while looking at a target, while you are aiming at an enemy. And holding down that button will give your kill command, which is not your action skill, but it is a skill that has a cooldown. Essentially, you are painting a target for your pet. You are giving your pet an order to attack a specific enemy, because without doing so, they will just attack whoever they feel like, which is fine in most cases. But in certain cases, you want the pet to focus a specific enemy. The last skill remaining in the blue tree is the capstone. It's called Dominance. Scoring a critical hit while aiming or meleeing an enemy establishes dominance and turns the target into an ally for a short time. You can only dominate one enemy at a time and only once. The dominated target loses 2% of their max health per second and is more likely to be attacked. When the duration ends, the target dies. So once you've dominated an enemy, they're no longer a threat. But when the target dies, they release a nova, dealing radiation area skill damage. Now, I suppose if you dominate a new target, the previous one won't die. This skill is not broken by any means. In fact, many would say that it's bad, and I get that. However, it would change the way that you want to play. And I do think that there are viable builds that use this skill. I think that you can play Flak in a way that is much less run and gun than the other classes. I think you can play him way more strategically, way more tactically. Sit back and watch the battle from afar and let your pet be your pawn. And playing that way can be a lot of fun. Of course, you can play and snipe alongside it, and that can work really well. But you can also melee nearby enemies. You could be sniping, and if there are enemies near you, you can melee them to dominate them so that you don't have to worry about the nearby enemies. I think it's a very interesting skill that deserves its due. It deserves its chance. Let's move on. Let's talk about the orange tree. Big Game Hunter increases the effect and duration of any hunter skills that you have. Hunter skills and hunter kill skills. So hunter skills are other skills within Flak's trees. Those hunter skills and hunter kill skills are highlighted here. Most of them are fairly basic bonuses. They're adding extra gun damage or extra pet damage or extra critical hit damage, random things like this, reload speed. But I feel like with Big Game, it's easy to read it and not have a good grasp or understanding of exactly how much it's helping you. So here's just a glance at these skills that you could enhance. If you are going to take Big Game in a build, consider the other hunter skills that you want to take, because you probably want to take as many of them as are relevant to you and the build that you're trying to create to get the maximum benefit out of Big Game. Then we have Galactic Shadow, which reads, increases your critical damage and enemies are less likely to attack you. Good in general, I suppose, if you're playing with a team, but you need to think about everything that you're doing with Flak as a team effort, because you are playing with at least one other team member, and that is your pet. Your pet is a part of you. That's the way to think about it. You are a pack. This is how Flak thinks. It's how you should think when you're playing Flak. You can make your pet a tank if you want them to be. Then we come to Megavore. All of your shots have a chance to be a critical hit. 20% chance. So this means that if you shoot someone in the foot, if you shoot a character at any point on their body, there is a 1 in 5 chance that attack will be a critical hit. So I think anyone playing any type of RPG understands that critical hits mean that you're doing extra damage. But it can mean a lot more than that in Borderlands. There's a lot of skills that key off of getting critical hits. There's even some that key off of getting critical kills. I think playing Flak with Megavore opens up the window to play more run and gun style, the way other characters would, while still getting the benefits of all the extra critical effects. So let's move on to the rest of the purple tree. We've already talked about the one that heals your pet. So let's talk about Take This. Your pet gains a copy of your shield with its effects. So I probably don't have to go into why that's good. It's really just about more survivability. Moving right on down, let's go to Woolly Armor. While your shield is full, your pet gains damage resistance. Now this is giving plus 75% damage resistance. Now it requires your shield to be full, but you can play Flak as a very backline character. You can play him as a sniper, but you don't have to be a sniper to hang back. You can send your pet in with Attack Command or even Gamma Burst, one of his action skills. And you can have him really be the focus of the fight to the point where enemies may not even realize you're there. Not even a chance reads, when your pet gets a kill, you gain stacking action skill duration and cooldown rate for a short time. Most of Flak's action skills benefit from a larger duration. The only one that really doesn't is Rack Attack. The main reason I highlight this, if you take the skill, you want to be sure to let your pet get the finishing blows. Now, I'm not saying to do this to a fault, but it's just something to keep in mind. It's better if the pet finishes them. Moving on to Keep Them Safe, issuing Attack Command while you or your pet is below 50% shield causes you to restore a shield portion. The skill takes 5 points to max, and if you've put 5 points in, then it's giving you 50% of your shield back when you do an Attack Command. Attack Command, as I mentioned before, it is a special attack for the pet. It will make your pet stop attacking something else and start attacking the new target. But if you're using this skill, then now it's becoming a survival ability. Now this skill itself does have a cooldown. It's a 12-second cooldown on the skill, but it can still get you out of a sticky situation. Then we come to Capstone of the Purple Tree. Activating your action skill starts your shield recharge and doubles your current shield for a short time. That means if you're in a tough spot, you can use your kill command and get 50% of the shield back right away, throw out an action skill, and you're good. So yeah, that's the linchpin skills. Let's move into the builds. The first build that I'm going to talk about is extremely pet focused. The idea behind it is that your pet is doing all the damage. You are there to help keep your pet alive. It's not that you're not going to be shooting per se, but think of your pet as your weapon. We're taking a lot of things that boost your pet's damage with the idea of kind of being a commander of the battlefield. You're sitting back, playing tactically, but you basically want to be far enough back, in most cases, that the enemies won't even fight you if the pet wasn't there. So if the pet dies, the enemies maybe just go back to doing their normal thing. They don't start shooting at you. That's the type of distance we're talking about. Now, obviously, you don't have to play that far back, but that's what I had in mind when putting this build together. And I'll admit, this one's not going to be for everybody. But a few people out there that will really click with this build, they probably will find more fun with this build than they will with any of the others in my build guides for Borderlands 3. Because it's a very unique playstyle. The idea of not really being part of the action. Now, it's not that you can't shoot. It's okay for you to shoot the enemy, specifically the enemy that your pet is attacking, but you should only do so to finish them off. That means that this build lends itself well to sniping, but it's important that the pet gets the first hit on the enemy. I recommend finding and using a Deadeye class mod. The primary benefit that this gives you is Fl4k and their pet deal 35% additional damage against enemies above 75% health, which is the first part of why I recommend letting the pet get the first hit on enemies. The other piece of why it's important is right here, because your first melee attack from your pet is going to be a critical hit. It's also going to be doing extra critical damage. You probably open a fight with Gamma Burst, which is the action skill that you're going to use with this build. You basically pick a point, you use the action skill, and your pet's going to teleport to that spot. They'll just immediately start attacking whatever's closest to them. Now, these augments, you can play with them and change them around. The other augments are perfectly usable. The first one here that I would prefer to use just extends how long Gamma Burst lasts. It makes the pet into essentially a badass version of itself for the duration. So that's why you would like for it to last longer. This one here makes the Gamma Burst itself remain in place. It'll be like a weird orb thing. And that orb thing is giving you health regen to you and your pet or anyone close, any teammates that are close to it. You start a encounter by using Gamma Burst to get him in there. If he's in the fray, the pet's going to be probably fighting anyway. But if you feel like there's specific targets that you want to make sure that he kills before Gamma Burst ends, or characters that are just more of a threat, or if one enemy randomly starts deciding to shoot at you instead of the pet, those type of things, these are what you want to use the attack command for. And also to strategically move the pet around. If there's one enemy that's kind of more in cover, then sending your pet to him first might mean that your pet takes a little less damage. Attack command's how you're going to be doing that. The Deadeye class mod can have 3 skills on it. They are this one here, Go for the Ice, which is the one you want the most points in. But after that, this one's also great. These are both very helpful skills for this build. Two Fang is the third skill that can be on it, and it is not going to be helpful for you necessarily. It's not going to be awful if you're doing sniping, but I would just lean the other direction. Now, like I say, the pet's getting some major boost here. He's getting a lot of extra damage. He's getting way more survivability. He's getting better movement speed. He's getting better critical hits. This is a build for the pet. I just really need to hammer that home. You do have options in which pet you use. You either want to do the Spider Ant or you want to do the Skag. That's it. That's the Beastmaster build. I almost forgot to tell you, but with this build, try and make sure not to have Nova or Spike shields. And the reason is because if your pet shield breaks and you Nova, then you're doing damage to all the enemies around the pet. And if he's got a Spike shield, then they're taking damage when they hit him. But you don't want them to take damage. You want your enemy to be fresh for your pet's first critical hit. Because that is the hit that you can guarantee is a critical. You're putting the most resources into your first pet attack being the most powerful attack you're going to make against that enemy. So Nova shields or Spike shields will actually reduce your DPS. If I was leveling up into this build, what order would I take these skills? In the lower levels, the pet's still going to be your weapon, but you're going to have to be in there. Probably 3 points right here. So I'm getting my attack command back faster and it's doing more damage. But there is a chance that you're going to want more survivability. If you are struggling, if you feel like you want some health regen or some more max health, go ahead and go here. You're going to need to put 2 points in at least to get to the next tier. And then I'm actually going to put 3 points right here to give the health regen that you do have, and you're going to get more of later, but to give that to your pet. Then you're going to slap 2 points right here, and then you're going to get the revival. From there, I'm actually going to tell you to put 5 points right here. Let's start getting those crits online. Then we're going to try and get more survivability for the pet that you can have more direct control over. So we're going to put 5 points right here, giving your pet more damage and movement speed. But it's so that you can put a point here so that when you attack your pet's targets, you heal them for 30% of the damage that you deal. After getting that, I'd put 3 points right here so that your pet's normal attacks have a chance to crit. Then I would put 1 more point right here that's going to get you down to the next tier. This is just going to give your pet better shield recharge rate and delay, but they don't have a shield yet. So just put 1 point there and then put the point here, and now they're going to get a copy of your shield. I think from there, I maybe go and fill up the blue tree because I think you get the most pet damage from the blue tree. Green tree, you're also getting a little more survivability both for you and the pet. Either way, green or blue, fill them in as you please, and then come in and fill in the purple. The higher level you go, the less important it is what skill you take next. All right, the next build we got for Flak is a rack attack build. You're going to want one of the class mods for Flak that has rack in the name. Rack Commander or Rack Pack. Of course, one of those is less good than the other one. Not that important. The build is not about the class mod in the way that other builds are. You can kind of play whatever you want. It's just that we are going to be relying heavily on Rack Attack for a few different things. So Rack Attack basically is just a damage skill, but you can augment it and have it heal you. So that's the way that I want you to think about the skill. It's going to be doing damage, but use it when you need to heal. And you can stack different charges. I think it's 3, and we're also increasing the cooldown. As long as you're not literally spamming it and using it constantly, as long as you're using it when you need health, you're going to have it most of the time when you need it. It's going to do a bunch of damage too, but I would try and be in the habit of using it for the purpose of healing. The other augment I use is the one that just adds extra racks. It's just upping the damage is what it's doing, and the amount of damage you're doing is how you're healing. Also actually recommending using the loader in this build, but you could use the jabber too if you wanted to. I think the loader in general is better, but they do have different types of weapons. Try them out. It doesn't cost anything to swap around which pet you have active. Really, the most important thing is the extra bonus that it's giving you. The one that I've chosen here is giving 20% max shield. Now, because we are using the action skill a lot, I do recommend looking for anoints that happen either on action skill start or action skill end. Ideally, I think it's best to use guns that have high fire rate, guns that are putting a lot of bullets out there to activate as many of the skills as you can, as often as you can. You do still want to be using attack command. You want to try and keep your pet fighting the enemies that you are fighting. You want to use the attack command though also to restore the shield. So when you need shield, you attack command, and when you need health, you rack attack. Of course, those are a couple things that might take a little bit of practice to get in a good groove to be watching for and actively taking advantage of. But we do have the bonuses to the attack command specifically for that reason. The thing with Flak is a lot of these skills aren't so impactful that they are required. I do recommend reading the skills as you get them. And if you feel like one of them isn't for you and isn't working with the way that you would prefer to be playing it, it's okay to put those points somewhere else. As I mentioned in the other build guides for the Borderlands 3 characters that I've done, but I don't think I have in this one yet, funny enough, I'm making these guides to help you learn to make builds. I'm not just trying to give you a build, and I'm doing this because I think making builds is the most fun thing you can do in these games. I think there's a great joy that comes with it, and I think that there's also a level of difficulty. There's a barrier there for a lot of people. You got to do a lot of reading. So I'm trying to ease you into that, trying to make it as palpable as I can. Either way, there's not a whole lot specific for me to say about this build that I haven't already said, and I feel like I'm not giving as much explanation here with Flak as I am with the other characters. It's not that these skills aren't good. They definitely are. They're giving him good bonuses. This build is very much a run and gun build. I don't want you to feel like you need to worry about being in cover too much. I want you to kind of play almost Berserker-ish. I want you to just get up in that fight. Just run up in there, shoot a bunch of bullets, hit a bunch of dudes, watch the critical hits pop up even when you're not hitting them in the head. Make sure the pet's staying with you so he can draw a little bit of your fire, and also so he can revive you when it inevitably goes wrong. But until it does go wrong, keep on buffing that shield with that attack command and keep on healing yourself with the rack attacks. So the order I would take these skills, I'm tempted to say go for the revival first, but actually no, don't do that. In fact, I want you to go hard into the red tree because we want to get to the healing from the rack attack, but we also want the bonuses from the red tree. So I would go into the red tree till you get the capstone. But if you feel like you want to upgrade your pet, it is okay to put a few points into the purple tree. You just need to open this tier here, I believe, to get the old bull loader here. You may find yourself wanting to revive. I want you to get to the bottom of the red tree as quick as you can. If you want a stronger pet, go into the purple tree. If you want the pet to revive you, go into the green tree. Very simple build, you know, and I feel a little bit like I'm letting you down, but I shouldn't, because this is a good build. Now there is one more thing I want to talk about with Fl4k here before we wrap things up. But to see its full potential would require 4 Fl4ks, a team full of Fl4ks, a team full of max level Fl4ks. That's kind of a tall ask. So I haven't ever put this build to its full test. Also, you may notice it's not exactly a full build anyway. Let me get into what the idea is here. Effectively, it all centers around all my BFFs. Real quickly, I'll read over it one more time. You share a health regeneration portion with the team. Your pet shares double the health regeneration. So any health regeneration we get is going to be shared with the entire team. We're getting health regen right here. While we're moving, we're getting health regen right here. When our pet deals damage, we're getting health regen right here. This one isn't giving health regen, but it is making it so some of the damage you take is absorbed by your pet instead of you. This one increases the effect of your pet's bonuses. That is what the pet is giving to Fl4k. In this case, we want to use a spider ant, which does require going fairly deep into the red tree. And this particular spider ant, the final spider ant that you can get in the red tree, is giving you 1% health regen and it's giving you 5% damage resistance. So this skill is giving you plus 200% to that pet bonus. There's also class mods that can add points to this, if I remember correctly, but I'm not adding that into the calculations. Plus 200% of the pet bonuses means that we're getting 3% health regen from the pet and 15% damage resistance. This skill gives you more damage reduction when you are below 30% health. So when you're close to dying, it also heals the pet. This skill is just giving you more health in general, more health to you and to your pet. These skills are the ones that I would consider core to the build. Obviously, you're going to need to spend some more points here to get down deep enough, but it's up to you where you put those points. Because I think you can craft a perfectly usable build with the playstyle that you want around this build. And I felt like leaving that amount of ambiguity with this concept was important because it requires 4 Fl4ks. Trying to tell 3 of your friends exactly the way they need to build their character is just not always going to land. The concept here, though, was to get the maximum amount of health regen that we could because we're sharing it with the team. And you see, that is the idea. Because there's 4 Fl4ks sharing all of their health regen. The skill that I recommend using is Gamma Burst. With Burst Aid on Gamma Burst, while Gamma Burst is active, you gain 20% max health regen. But you can also do a fadeaway version, because fadeaway also has some health regen. It's just not as powerful. I have here a few calculations for this particular build. I call the build the Rough Riding Flak Pack because that's the shield that I would choose, is the Rough Rider, because it gives more damage reduction. But with this build as is, you are getting 80% more max health, and you are getting 53% damage mitigation. You can get extra mitigation while you're moving, and you can get extra mitigation while you are on low health. When all of these things are active, you are totaling 120.4% damage mitigation. Now, I'm not exactly sure how damage mitigation is calculated in Borderlands, but I'm pretty sure this doesn't mean that you take no damage. There has to be diminishing returns of some sort. Your health regen is plus 4.5% max health per second. That's just by default. At all times, you've got 4.5%. You get additional regen after your pet deals damage, plus 2%. You also get additional regen while moving. Gamma Burst giving you the 20%, and Fadeaway has potential to give you 3%. All of this totals to 27.4% Gamma Burst healing per second. So already on its own, it's a very survivable build. Where this build has the potential to feel truly insane is likely with the 4 flags. So I've done the calculations for those as well, as you already see here. So the max health and the damage mitigations are the same as above because you're not sharing those with your teammates. But when we calculate in the extra health regen from your 3 flak friends, now by default we have 11.25% max health per second regening. With 4 flaks, if they have all of the Gamma Burst active at once, which maybe isn't the best way to do it, but we'll get into that in a minute. While all 4 Gamma Bursts are active, you have plus 218.5% health regen per second. That means every second you are getting more than 2 full health bars of healing. I don't want to say that this build would make you invincible, because it wouldn't, probably. But I just can't imagine it not feeling a little bit like God mode. But you also have the option of doing maybe a couple of Gamma Burst at a time, or you could stagger them and have the first person throw out Gamma Burst, and then maybe 5 or 6 seconds later have the next player drop their Gamma Burst. You can also have this give you a way to move around the battlefield a little bit more. You're staggering the Gamma Burst, you're still getting pretty great health regen the entire time. So if anybody out there ever tries the rough Ridin Fl4k pack with 4 flaks, let me know. I'm very curious, because I got to imagine it's probably pretty fun. There we have it, the Flak build guide finally coming to you. And I was trying to get it to you guys before Borderlands 4 came out, but, well, that kind of didn't happen. But Borderlands 3 is always going to be a fantastic game, and there's always going to be new people coming to it. And there will definitely be returning players. And this guide is as much for those returning players as it is for new players. So I hope you found something useful here. If you know any little tips or tricks regarding Flak that I did not include here, drop them in those comments. If you got any questions about Borderlands in general, not just Borderlands 3, drop them in those comments. If you want to see build guides like this for Borderlands 4, let me know. They're not going to be instant. I need to have a very good grasp of the character before I build them. But if something like that interests you, I would definitely like to know. Likes are appreciated. Subs are appreciated even more. And until I've got something cool to tell you guys about Borderlands 4, Wizrrd Out.